It has been a wild couple of weeks worth of weather we've been having here in SoCal. I'm talking one swell after another, crazy wind, rain. Yeah, so diving's probably gonna be out for a while, but it does give me a great chance to talk about this insane mahi-mahi year we just had here locally. Here in Southern California, we're usually lucky to see mahi only on the warmest of warm years. This year was nothing like I've ever seen. Simply put, the summer of 2022 was the year of the mahi. All right, kill the montage. So first off, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Austin Derry, lifelong spearfisherman and fisherman, waterman, camera guy, my photographer, as some of my friends call me. Welcome. We're going to be doing an awesome video about the insane mahi-mahi year we had. I'm going to be showing some of the footage I captured, as well as talking about some of the things I've learned and giving some tips about how to spearfish these things locally. They're one of the most awesome fish to spear anywhere in the world. We have a little bit different way of doing it out here, but it's very similar to how you target them pretty much anywhere else. So these tips can be used wherever in the world you might find mahi-mahi, which is pretty much anywhere tropical. When I say a lot of mahi-mahi showed up, I don't mean a couple. Just to give you one point of reference, in one 2-day period, the sport fishing fleet reported 33,000 plus fish. That's just the rod and reel guys out on the cattle boats. That's not including all the spearos, all of the recreational guys that have their own boats, the private boaters. I'm talking, there must have been millions and millions of fish. I've been targeting mahi off SoCal for about 20 years now. I've seen a lot of different seasons, and in that time, I've probably seen even more different hairstyles. What we saw in 2022 made everything else pale in comparison. So why this year? What was so special about our water conditions that allowed that many fish to travel up? Well, I think it's a couple of things. Don't know for sure, but number one, there was a perfect highway of warm water that came up from Baja. What brought those fish back up this yellow brick road? It was the amount of bait. We've had more baby anchovies out here than I've seen in my entire life. It's the same thing that brought the bluefin tuna back in an unprecedented level we haven't seen in years. When the food is there, the fish are gonna find it. So on a normal year, mahi tend to show up off Southern California when the water gets above 70. And even when they do, it's usually in smaller numbers. Every year is kind of different from one another, and it's a bit of a novelty out here. So the fish this year, when we first started seeing them, averaged total cookie cutter 6 to 8 pounds. Usually when you find a school of mahi-mahi, there's like 1 or 2 big bulls at the front of the pack. We didn't see any of that. So in the course of about a month or 2 when they were here, we totally saw the fish grow in size from an average of 6 to 8 pounds to about 12 to 15. I still never really saw any huge ones this year, which was kind of odd considering just the tremendous volume of fish we had. But other than that, it was a great cookie cutter average. It was as much as you wanted to get any day you were out there. So the crazy thing about this year was the open water schools. I've never seen anything like this. As far as you could look, when you're in the right zone, it would be one school after another busting up on anchovies, with each school having hundreds to thousands of mahi-mahi.
Here, you sure?
So here we are setting up on one of those open water schools. The fish were moving really fast, and I was trying to intercept them the best I could. The water wasn't that clear, and the fish were moving. Slowly, just kind of took my time. I see my buddy shoots one behind me. Don't want to shoot in his direction, so I wait for the fish to give me an opportunity. Finally, the school comes by, dive down, level out, and it was actually really hard to pick one. You can't see it in this milky water, but there are a lot of fish here. Every time I lined up, they just move out of range. Safety in numbers. Finally, just picked one. I wasn't being picky, got a kind of a bad shot on it, but at least I got one out of this school.
Easier said than done. Those things are they're scooting.
So now you're like, okay.
Yeah, I had to take my shot carefully. Thank you.
Even though there was hundreds of thousands to maybe millions of fish here, I don't know, I'm gonna call it millions because that sounds better. You had to kind of know where to go. It was pretty easy every day. You just kind of looked at the sea surface temperatures on the satellite imagery from the day before, found that warm water zone, and they tended to be all over the place once you hit that break. If you found a patty in that zone, 9 out of 10 of them had hundreds. Some of them had thousands of fish on a single patty. So for spearfishing, it was very easy to get the state limit, which is 10 fish. It's 10 because nobody ever expects you to shoot 10 in a single day. Yeah, this year you could do it in about half an hour. See how the whole school follows this fish up? Mahi love doing this. If you have one hanging, more often than not, the whole school will come up. So sometimes having one just sitting around doing circles is a good way to bring the other fish in. I had kind of a bad shot on this fish, so I had to very softly play it because it was going to rip right through that gut cavity. Luckily, I was able to slowly work it up and get it between my legs to secure it. I was trying to put this mahi on my stringer as quick as possible. Right behind me was a bunch more mahi waiting to be speared, and I didn't want to waste any time. As soon as I secure this fish, I see the whole school not far behind, so I try to reload my gun as fast as possible and get down there and spear another one. The fish were swarming so close, so I just loaded a single band. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as I dropped down, they are just out of range. Should have just loaded them both from the get-go. The biggest one I've ever got is about 30, 35 pounds, and that was back in 2015 when we had an actual true El Nino event. We saw fish up to 50 pounds coming out of these waters. That's incredibly rare, but the weird thing was, with the volume we had this year, we just didn't see any standout models. I didn't see anything above 20 pounds, and even those 20 pounders were 1 out of a million. So during the summer, I'm on the water 5-6 days a week as a spearfishing guide. Here are the 2 biggest mistakes I see people making time and time again when they're spearing one of the easiest fish to spear in the entire planet. Number 1, don't chase the fish. If you dive down and pretend not to be a predator, let them come to you, they will present an easy shot 9 out of 10 times. But the second you act like a predator, start chasing the thing around, waving a spear gun, diving while your gun's extended, you're gonna look like a predator. I see guys do this all the time, and the fish would just come right up to them if they just sat still and pretended not to care. Number 2, this actually might be the most important thing that I see people making mistakes time and time and time again, even after I've told them. Don't surface shoot. Even on the calmest flat conditions, the swell energy is going to be moving your body up and down maybe a foot every couple of seconds at the calmest it ever gets. The fish might look like they come right up to you, which they do. Mahi will charge you. When you first swim to the patty, this fish likes to come right up to you. It's not that hard. So guys see them right there and they, oh, I'm just gonna shoot. Well, you're moving at about this speed. That means your tip is going. So I see it time and time again. I have made this mistake myself. It's my number 1 thing I try to always never do, and I still sometimes forget and make this mistake. And when I do, I'm always reminded, this is why you don't do this. This is why you don't surface shoot. Because these fish were going to be suicidal, but instead you got lazy, didn't want to make an 8-foot dive, maybe 10 foot if you're really having to get crazy with it. Just level out, let them present themselves. When you get greedy on these fish, you're going to miss or get a bad shot. Mahi fight like eels. They twist and turn and go in all kinds of crazy directions. I've seen these fish twist themselves off, even really good shots. So that brings me to the next point, gear. So targeting these mahi-mahi locally, it's 99% of the time on patties, which is a numbers game. You might have to hit 4 or 5 before you find one that's actually holding fish. So that's why I like using a reel instead of a float and whole setup. Because for you to get in the water, simply swim and check if there's any fish around. When you have to feed out a bungee or a float line and float, you're just wasting time. It's a numbers game. You have to maximize your time out there. That's why 120, 130, something simple. Slip tip, because these fish fight like eels, and with a flopper, they like to use the leverage to rip themselves out. Whereas a slip tip, it's free flowing, goes through the fish, toggles, gives a lot more dynamic range without putting the pressure. I could see that I had taken a really bad shot on this fish, so I was really trying to gently, barely put any pressure on it. But unfortunately, this thing had other ideas and didn't hit it anywhere vital, and there it goes. Yep, what do you know? Fighting these fish, I like to just kind of get them, slowly play them, make sure my shot's good. Just get the fish between your legs and you're all good. Then you can subdue it and the party's over. Frank 130 Euro is my bias, but also completely honest opinion about what I think you should be using out there. So I actually have an affiliate link for you guys down below if you're looking to get this set up for yourself. All right, here's some facts about mahi-mahi, even though I'm sure everyone has heard of this fish before. In Central and Latin America, they call them Dorado, which makes sense. It's a golden kind of fish. For whatever reason, on the East Coast, in Florida especially, they call them dolphin fish. Okay. Mahi-Mahi are known as the fastest growing fish in the sea. Average lifespan is about 2 to 3 years, and they reach sexual maturity within 6 months. So by the time that fish is 50 pounds, which is an absolute monster, that fish is probably 1.5 years old, which makes them incredibly sustainable when it comes to the seafood market, which they are very prized for. Mahi are also one of the most delicious fish in the sea. You can't mess them up, except raw is not that good. But any way you cook them, they're amazing. You can find them at pretty much any seafood place in the entire world. And if they don't have mahi-mahi, they're probably serving tilapia. So almost as soon as these mahi showed up, we had a hurricane push up, totally rolled the water, and they went straight back to Baja. So we had about a 1-2 month period of the most insane mahi fishing. Not a lot of giants, but as a diver, it was about as good as it gets. Go out, crack a couple 12, 15 pound mahis, stoke out your friends and family, make sure you got the freezer loaded for a little bit, and that was enough. That was all we needed. I've never seen anything like this volume of fish. I've talked to a lot of old timers. You know, you hear these stories about, oh, back in the old days or whatever. Well, I don't know. I've never heard anything like this volume of mahi we saw this year. So grateful to have been out there, even if we weren't really targeting most of the time, just to see this sheer volume of fish was absolutely wild and awesome. And it goes to show that through some sort of a proper management, there is a chance to see insane stuff like this more and more, as long as we make sure to take care of the ocean. I don't know if we're ever going to see that again. Hopefully we do, and hopefully they're a lot bigger. Also, got to give a huge shout out to my buddy Ryan Lawler. He shot all of this insane mahi-mahi drone footage you've seen in this video. Check him out below. Here's his links. Thanks, Ryan. Shoots, buddy. Appreciate all the footage. So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, I got a few more patty ones coming on the way, and I got plenty other content on my channel. I'm Austin Derry. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe.